Hey everybody, happy Wednesday. Welcome to This Week in Housing. Not inside my office, in my house, rather appropriate for This Week in Housing. So we have an all-star panel of rockstar agents, team leaders, true professionals in their marketplaces to talk about the market. And of course, my good friend and co-host, David Childers from Keeping Current Matters. I'm going to be very straight with you guys. Sitting here in the United States, specifically in Dallas, last night I was texting with David. Wow, there's a lot of uncertainty right now in our country. And what's been interesting is I actually said to him, just being very candid with you all, my friends, David, should we do the show tomorrow? Right? Should we do it? And of course, David's response was, of course we should do the show. And I knew the second he said it, what his intention was. In times of uncertainty, we need to create certainty. In times of uncertainty, we, my friends, need to create certainty for ourselves, for our clients, for our team, for our family, for the right mindset to focus on things we can control. And then this morning, as David and I were chatting, we were talking about the fact that I know a lot of people, and you do too, that sold a lot of houses when Clinton was the president. I know a lot of people that sold a lot of houses when George Bush was the president. I know a lot of people that sold a lot of houses when Obama was the president, when Trump's the president, and whoever's next. What I know is this: housing is always in. Housing is always in, and it always matters. So today, our focus is to give you more certainty. And we give you more certainty through giving you more data points, right? More facts, more things for you to discuss, to share. This morning, I was on the phone doing a coaching session with one of our clients, DJ and Lindsay, and also with Betsy and guy Steve, and all these rockstar team leaders, and every one of them said the same thing. I rely on Keeping Current Matters, especially in these times. These are the times when it's not about my opinion, it's about what the data says. It's about what the facts say, what the interest rates are, the deals that are happening, and our ability to express that to the marketplace. So I'm super excited if you're with us, whether you're with us right now live or you're seeing this in the future. So let's do some introductions. I want to go ladies first. Glennda Baker, will you take a second and share with everybody who you are, where you work, and how many buyers and sellers are you and your team helping on an annual basis?
Hey, Tom, thanks so much for having me today. My name is Glennda Baker. I'm a real estate agent in Atlanta, Georgia. I run an all-female SEAL team here. 3 of us sell and 3 admin. We'll do about 150 transactions this year. And last year we did 135, and business for us is great. We looked at our volume, and our volume is actually higher year to date than it was all of last year.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And not saying, for the people that are watching right now, remember the average real estate professional sells between 3 and 5 homes a year. Maybe if this video was sent to you on Facebook by your agent, and you're watching this as a home buyer or seller, someone that's doing 150 transactions a year is like basically the greatest brain surgeon in your town at that level of performance. So Glennda, congratulations on your success. Treasure Davis, take a second, tell us who you are. Again, same thing, where you work and how many buyers and sellers you and the team are helping on an annual basis.
Great. Thank you so much for having me today. My name is Treasure Davis. We are in Colorado Springs, Colorado. We have a team of 10 sales agents, including myself, that sell. 3 of those we onboarded during COVID. We have 4 we're onboarding now. And we have an admin team of 7. So we're very admin heavy. And we will do 450 transactions this year.
Wow.
We are up from last year. Our volume is up from last year. And we work primarily strictly military. So when we went virtual, we already had that in line because we're used to our clients not being here. So we have had an unusual year, but a great year professionally, and we're just excited to be here today.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I would say when you said admin heavy, I would say that you are service heavy. Is that another way of describing it?
That is the best way to describe it.
Yeah, congrats. And Tim Smith from Southern California. Tim, take a second, same thing, introduce yourself. How many buyers and sellers you helping, and how big is your team?
Thanks so much, Tom. Happy to be here with Glennda and Treasure and David. What like a treat and an honor for me. So we work in Orange County, California, from San Clemente to Huntington Harbor, mainly coastal, but we'll do anything. I have 15 agents. I have 10 service or support staff. We do between 250 and 300 transactions a year at roughly 2.2 million is our average purchase price. And I love being a realtor. I still remember 25 years ago, I went to an appointment and a realtor pulled up and like, it was like this dreamy moment. He got out of his car. I'm like, that's what I want to be. I just want to be a realtor.
Yes. And all three of you do it very well. So David, everyone knows you because we've been doing this show for, quite some time now. I want to thank you always for everything that you and the team at Keeping Current Matters do. But the people are really here because they want to see the slides. They want to know what's on the mind of the people at Keeping Current Matters. So like always, my friends, David's going to show us some slides, and then our all-star panel, we're going to discuss them. We're going to talk about them. You can make comments inside Facebook. You should absolutely tag 4 or 5 of your friends and say, hey, check this out, whether they're on your service team or they're agent friends of yours, to really keep the positive conversation going. So David, take it away.
Yeah, I think, Tom, you mentioned us talking last night, this morning, and 2020 has brought a lot of crazy things. We started this at the end of March, talking about this, and here's where I want to kind of maybe start today, because I think it's an important point. Where we sit right now is what can we control and what can we cannot, not control right now. I'm going to bring a lot of things today that maybe are reminders that the team has found and pulled up, and some new things that I think are going to help us be able to bring some clarity and some certainty. You started off this way, in an uncertain world, let's be the voice of certainty where we can and what we can control. And so I think that's our job today. And I'm going to start out with a few quotes and a couple of things in the market. We oftentimes say, it's not good news, it's not bad news, it's just the news. And if we take that approach, I'm going to share this slide. Many of you maybe remember it. We've talked about it coming from the Wall Street Journal. We used it back this summer, saying news stories often describe the coronavirus-induced global economic downturn as the worst since the Great Depression. Yet for many, the comparison does more to terrify than to clarify. To say that we live right now in a world that headlines do more to terrify than clarify, I believe is absolutely accurate. And I think our job right now, in our businesses and what we do every day, is to clarify for people what is happening. And we're going to talk about that today in the economy, in our business, in health-related concerns. How do we clarify that for people? But brought another quote in here from Adam Data Solutions, the chief production officer. He says this, it's very interesting. Home prices and seller profits across the nation continue racking up new highs as the housing market remains relatively immune from the economic havoc caused by the coronavirus pandemic. It's almost if the housing market and the overall economy are operating in two different worlds. So let's realize that right now. We've been fortunate in our business to operate in a time where, home and housing has, thrived through the pandemic. A lot of businesses, a lot of people not experiencing that. And certainly those of us, that lived through 2008 understand what it's like to be in a business that's being heavily impacted by a downturn. The biggest issue continuing in our business right now is the lack of available inventory. And so this is a unique slide giving a look over the last year of what inventory looks like. And so today, I think talking about, okay, how do we address this? And I'm going to talk about a study from Zillow that just came out in just a minute, but no doubt across the country, the need is for more available listings, more homes for those that are looking to purchase them. And we sit in an undersupply across the country relative to the number of homes on the market.
So David, go back a slide. I want everyone just to read that again. Home prices and seller profits across the nation continue racking up new highs as the housing market remains relatively immune from the economic havoc caused by the coronavirus pandemic. Glennda, when you read that, Treasure, when you read that, Tim, when you read that, you three uniquely sit in front of home buyers and sellers every day, many of you 2 to 3 times a day before you even look at your team. When you hear all this, what goes through your mind? What's racing inside those brilliant, real estate minds of yours? Let's go to Glennda first.
Well, Tom, there's never been a time where clarity was more important. You have to be the clarity. You have to be able to deliver it. And depending on the data, used to there was a lot of latitude, a lot of room for error, especially in pricing. There's not that latitude anymore. You've got to be the clarity. You've got to speak with certainty. There is no more, I think I can get this for your house. That is not an option. People are depending on you for data. They're depending on you for clarity, very, very specific numbers. For us, when I look at inventory rates, it's all over the board depending on the price range here in Atlanta. We were one of the first states that were released after the pandemic. So believe it or not, we've kind of been doing business as usual. So for us, there's been some impact from the virus, but not a lot. But people are looking for clarity. They're not putting their home on the market for kicking tires.
Yeah. Treasure, what's your interpretation of those first two slides in that inventory?
Yes. So for us, the inventory is a little bit lower than that. We're almost to 2% in Colorado Springs, which is very, very low for us. We usually get a little bit lower during the holidays, and that's not a military. In the military world, they call it PCS season. That's when military service members move. We have not, so we typically have 2 major move cycles in Colorado Springs. We did not have those this year because of the virus and people being shut down and military not being able to travel. So it's been, as of today, we've gone up a level. So we're now safer at home again for us. But we have always operated at a level of doing things at a higher level of safety to make sure that our staff is safe, our team is safe, our clients are safe. So we're doing above and beyond what other people are doing because we want to stay open because we were shut down before. And so we learned from that time. We're doing some things just to keep everybody safe. That's obviously number one. You've said that, Tom, this whole time, safety first. We have taken that to heart and made sure that everybody is safe. And so we are really hoping to have another military move cycle beginning of next year, which will jumpstart ours. Just for context, Colorado Springs has 5 military bases. So I'm kind of coming at a different place than everybody else is. And we have a lot of people that leave here to go to Germany, to Italy. And obviously when this happened, that transitioned a lot. So that's a little bit different for us, but I completely agree with Glennda, as I always do. She's amazing. But we have to be clear and we have to be, what are your goals? What are you looking to do? And really making sure that if we can't facilitate it, we're upfront and we're honest. And we've always been that way, but now we have to tell people the hard truth sometimes. But the truth doesn't mean never. It just may not mean not right now. Maybe it means rent your home out. Maybe it means something else, but it's looking at their story and their journey and customizing the plan that works well for them. And that's important for all of us. And I know everybody on this panel does that. And we've done that before coronavirus.
Sure. So. Thank you. Tim, same question. How do you interpret this? I mean, you're along the coast, you're in a very high-end marketplace. Lots of people probably wanting to test the market, hearing about people paying exorbitant prices for homes that are selling in seconds. What's your interpretation?
Well, I'm looking at a little different angle from the slide. So Orange County is one of those places that I have always had the opinion, and I know that we are the most undervalued major metropolitan area in the world. And the reason being is because our lifestyle is so great. Coronavirus, everything that's happened this year has exacerbated it. In March, we started seeing people stuck at home and thinking, oh, I don't want to live here anymore. I need the pool, I need the beach access. Even though they may have been impacted economically, financially, they were making moves. As things started to ramp up with the coronavirus, it hit us very softly here. Our political approach looked more like pep rallies. It's safe, the beaches were open. So we started seeing demand increase at 10 times the normal level from people in dense cities like New York, LA, San Francisco, Chicago. But then everybody else in the Western United States being stuck at home for all this time, having kids at home, are like, we want the beach house we've always wanted. We've seen some record sales this year, even amidst all the uncertainty, because the coronavirus was a paradigm shift for how people feel about where they live, how they want to spend time with their family. And so many people reallocated funds that they had for retirement or other things to how they live today. And that's been the single best thing for our marketplace. As far as inventory, we're down at 2003 levels, which is scarce for us. and we're seeing demand the highest it's ever been, only matched a couple of times 2012 and 2006. So our big challenge right now is, where do people, if you called me and said, I want a beach home in Laguna Beach, I'd tell you, I don't really have anything to show you. That's what we're finding. So unlocking new inventory is going to be the key in 2021. I believe that 2021 for us will be the greatest pricing year we've ever seen for sellers, even amidst the uncertainty with this election. So the key for us, and taking some stuff out of Glennda Baker's book, finding a way to connect with people with gifting and other things, always being in front, because I think they're going to be the people that just want to move, that are realistic sellers. But now we're going to unlock all the unrealistic sellers. So really interviewing our clients is going to be the key on their level and motivation of selling and their expectations.
So brilliant insights from all three of you. And really, David, they kind of set you up for the next few slides. So just for the people watching out there, we've got Glennda Baker from Atlanta. We've got Treasure Davis from Colorado Springs. We've got Tim Smith from Orange County, California. It's This Week in Housing. And there's some interesting data we're going to go into. We've discovered there's basically three primary reasons that buyers and sellers are nervous today. And as Tim was saying, if we're going to unlock the inventory in 2021 and beyond, we need to understand what their concerns are and then educate them, right? Yeah. So they can make good decisions. So David, let's dig into the uncertainty.
Yeah, I think that, I heard, Glennda, you said clarity, from folks. Tim, you said uncertainty. The one thing there are a lot of things we can't say. We don't have a crystal ball on, what's going to happen tomorrow even, or in the coming weeks. But what we can say is this time of uncertainty will pass as we move into next year. Now, it's very interesting. Zillow came out with a report that I'm going to share here last week around the top reasons homeowners are not putting their homes on the market. Very interesting right now as we talk about unlocking inventory, talking about looking forward, but also saying, okay, where are we at right now? 31% you see there say financial uncertainty, and no doubt right now in the news and everything we've been through the pandemic, there are questions financially. We've been talking about that for the last months that we've been doing this, Tom, on This Week in Housing, is what's happening in the economy. So I'm going to unpack that in just a minute. 34%, 1 out of 3 say life's just too uncertain right now. And we're going to address that. And it's a very valid concern for people to say, I feel uncertainty from every angle, and the one that's right here in front of us right now is the election. But there have been so many things to cause uncertainty. And still 1 out of 4 say, hey, I'm concerned due to the pandemic. We got to remember that as we do this every day, and Glennda, you brought up the point in being out there in the market, that there's still a lot of people that say, I have concerns about bringing people into my home and, the safety of putting my house on the market. So very interesting study. If we kind of start to unpack this and maybe start with the first one of financial uncertainty, I want to take you back through a couple of slides. I pulled some things that we had talked about early on that I know many of you used relative to the economy. We've just seen third quarter GDP, what they call the initial estimate for GDP. But if we go back to April 6th, I pulled a slide from presentation. Many of you, remember this. We talked about a V-shaped recovery. I'm not saying let's get focused on whether it's a V right now, but experts were saying, hey, we saw a little bit of dip in the first quarter. We're going to take this massive, dip down in the second quarter, and then in the third quarter of this year, we're going to see this rebound, this economic rebound. And what actually happened? We saw that come out last week at 33.1%, the economy growing in that advanced estimate, initial estimate of gross domestic product in this country. So those of you that use that slide, that got out there, that helped give your clients the certainty around that, I think you can bring some of these things back and certainly show them, hey, this is what experts were saying, and this is what happened. There's been so much news in the election cycle that it's very hard to decipher on what is happening economically, what is happening with stimulus, what's happening with the recovery relative to consumer spending and all the things that we've talked about, and helping people say, okay, this is what happened. This is the impact of the pandemic. Here's how the economy is recovering. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that there's no worries there. There's nothing that we need to talk about. This is a rosy scenario. I'm going to bring some sobering information as well relative to economic recovery. But I think as we look at this, we can look also across the country and say the consumer is returning to spending patterns. Now, this is a look across the US by state of the change in consumer spending as compared to January 1st. And overall in the US, consumer spending is down 3.7% as compared to the first of the year. And you can see by state anywhere, the most there within 10% of where they were January 1st. Now, a lot of this, if you're following this story, has been driven by a stimulus package. You also know that we've had this question of, is there a stimulus package? Is there going to be another one on the way? I think Wall Street and most experts are saying, hey, no matter who wins the election, we're likely to see another stimulus package very soon, which is going to bode well for consumers. So I think as we look at that certainty, we can expect that, that stimulus package to come and watching what experts are saying there, and that to positively affect consumer spending and recovery. Now, most recently, in the Wall Street Journal last week, they said this. They said the U.S. won't be a slouch when its GDP numbers came out Thursday. Now, this was prior to Thursday, but I pulled this quote because it's important. Economists are forecasting growth at a 32% annualized pace. That came in at 33.1, just over the expectation. A record-shattering number that will underscore a stronger than expected rebound from the effects of the pandemic. So what's happening economically? We're seeing a stronger than expected rebound in the third quarter, but let's keep reading here. The headline number, however, will partially mask what's so far an incomplete recovery in what appears to be a slowing recovery. So what they're saying here is we don't have a complete picture right now of economic recovery in this country. We see a stronger than expected rebound. But as we go into the winter, as we see rising coronavirus cases, as we deal with the effects of the pandemic and unemployment, it appears to be slowing. So they don't say it appears to be retracting, it appears to be constricting, rather continuing to recover, but to slow. And I think looking at that from an economic standpoint, using some of that information to help our clients see what's happening right now will help them say, okay, what's the right decision for my family, given everything going on in the economy and the economic uncertainty that I feel.
So David, I want to know from Tim, Glennda, Treasure. Tim, I'm going to go to you first. You're sitting down with a client that has financial uncertainty. How do you educate that person? How do you help that person? And I want to know, ladies, same question.
I mean, it's interesting because we're all looking at this from the perspective we're sitting in. I am not seeing a ton of financially uncertainty in my area. I mean, if anything, we're really real estate heavy. We are in an area where we have a lot of second homeowners. So it's like, I think there's uncertainty in the discretionary spend. But as I'm looking, I'm in a 10-story building and I have two. There's 3 cars in the parking lot and it's after 9 and we're in November. I mean, I haven't seen more than 30 cars in this parking lot for 2. So when we're talking financially uncertainty, one of the things that always comes back in our conversations is it comes back to certainty at home, certainty where I live. So we're having a lot of conversations based around reallocating to make sure, because everybody that I'm working with has really had that paradigm shift of like living today is the most important thing that I can do. Forget about the rest. So it's more conversations around that and how we can reallocate, what we need to do, downsize, upsize, second home. So it's a little different from where I'm standing. So that's how to answer that question.
Yeah. Glennda, same question. Maybe, what are you hearing? Are you hearing from the clients that are like, I want to move, but I'm not certain? And how are you educating them?
So Tom, I'm in Atlanta, Georgia, headquarters of Delta, mini headquarters of Marriott, the mini MINI headquarters of Marriott. So 17,000 laid off from Delta, 8,000 laid off from Marriott. For us, I mean, there's a huge impact. We're also the headquarters of Home Depot that are hiring 3,000 in their e-commerce department. Home Depot has no plans to bring anybody back to the corporate headquarters right now. Their productivity is up from their employees working from home. So for us, there are a lot of dynamics going on. What I'm seeing more when it comes to selling and buying is my people with Delta, they can't sell their house and qualify and move to the other house, downsize, right size, lateral size, because they don't have a job anymore. And that's what we're dealing with is I can't get Bob and Susie out of house A because they don't know that they can qualify for house B because nobody has a job anymore. Because a lot of times it was the pilot, it was the flight attendant, they were married, it was double income that 17,000 of them lost. So for me right now, the most important thing is sitting down and understanding what is the need? Like, where are they mentally? In Atlanta, the average person has $177,000 in positive equity in their home. So it's not like 2008 where they were upside down. So they have positive equity, but they take that equity out. What are they doing with it? So we've actually had a lot of people that have sold because the market's really high, the inventory is really low, the demand is really high. And then they have gone in and they've rented. They've gone to a lake house, they've gone to a mountain house. They're looking for a lifestyle, and they're holding out until they either get a job or the market goes down and they can buy it where everything's on sale.
I wanted to hear that. I had a feeling that was more of the case, versus Tim's situation in Orange County. So Treasurer, we're talking about financial uncertainty to unlock the market. What are you seeing in Colorado Springs as it relates to military or non-military?
Yes. So what we're seeing as far as non-military is that a lot of people are relocating here from across the country.
Yeah.
They want the clean air. They want a different lifestyle. Interest rates are still low, so that's really helping to drive people here. And they want to be close to grandkids. They want to retire here. They were stationed here before. So that's driving our market here regarding non-military. And then regarding military, everybody has positive equity right now. We're not seeing short sales, foreclosures, anything like that. And so that's been really healthy for our market. And while we know that they're going to get orders, they may not have them yet. So we're in a holding pattern of kind of watching the market until they receive those orders and we have everything in place so they can go, because once they get the orders, they're typically going pretty quickly. But we have a really strong, also nonprofit base here. And they've been doing the same thing. They've been either holding tight because they have positive equity. And for our clients, we always try to put them in at a price point where they're not house poor. That's always been our strategy. So if you qualify for, let's say, 500, we're going to start at 400 to see what we can do with that and leverage that money. So that's been a little bit good for us. And I know everybody on the panel does the same thing, probably different in a second home community. But for us, we have had a couple of those conversations, but the stimulus helped people to kind of hunker down and stay where they were at for us here.
Love it. So David, so much of the phrase is uncertainty. And yeah. I think probably more so with Glennda, Tim is expressing the same thing in a different way, but really with Treasure, when you're talking about military, right? Am I going to Germany? Am I not going to Germany? If I'm going to Germany, can my family come with me? What's that going to look like? Which going back to the Zillow report, 34% of the people said life is just too uncertain right now.
Right.
And what we all want to do is we need to be the ones that clarify, not terrify.
Yes.
We want to unlock the inventory, my friends. Listen to me. We need to be the clarifiers. Tim, I see you pointing there. Thought.
So one thing about uncertainty, because financial uncertainty isn't the top of but the things that are uncertain for us is market uncertainty. And what's going to have with policy, because we are a heavily taxed state, and if taxes change, and if especially like capital gains tax, that is a dramatic difference for us.
Yes.
So being educated and informed on all of the different policy and everything that we can with the market, because the market, as everybody's saying, is its peak. We're having a lot of those conversations Glenda's having, which is, my biggest challenge to unlock sellers, they don't know where to go. So yeah, I could probably get 15% over market, but where do I go? So having conversations with them about, well, what does this look like? And really asking questions like, okay, everybody's looking at the market today as it sits, but the markets can shift quickly. And if they shift quickly, people are going to be frantic to do something. So trying to get in front of those markets with those conversations is key And you're right, it's just not about financial uncertainty, it's about all of the other uncertainties, which provides conversations. And the key is asking the right questions and staying engaged, like really staying engaged with them as their friend, really getting in there, like, what if this happens? What if this doesn't happen? And it really, if you take the time and care and you're serving, you will unlock a lot more opportunities, is what we're seeing.
100%. So Treasure, go ahead.
I just have one thing to add to that. Absolutely. That is number one, is like getting in there more than ever to really understand the dynamics. And for us, right when COVID hit, we had a lot of people going to Italy and Germany, and we didn't know their timeline, but they were definitely going. And we had just got under contract when we locked down. So navigating that with them, they all did it successfully because we were in the conversation. We were having the conversations with the other realtors, and they were having it with their buyers, saying, this is where we're at in regards to when they can move and how that's going to look, and really coming together as colleagues and partners for the best of buyers and sellers has really been so impressive to see from our real estate community this year, of people really coming together. So while politically people may be torn apart, I feel as real estate professionals, we've really come together for the good of our clients.
I agree. Well said. So David, let's talk about that, because life uncertainty was really the next big one, and everybody's kind of talking about it here, especially Tim with the taxes. And, could you imagine, you're being told you're going to Germany and you sold your house?
Right. Right. I think this, bring that back up, that reason that life is too uncertain right now. And it's very interesting to listen to Tim, the uncertainty, what that means to you in your market, to, Glennda, what that means in Atlanta, what that means in Colorado Springs, just across the country. It means different things to different people. Now, I think there's some interesting things happening right now that I would suggest here that are going to be across the market in some level, relative to pricing, relative to interest rates, that, there will be a price I think people will pay to wait for certainty in our business. If you look at interest rates, you look at things like that. So let's take a look at a couple of things, a little bit of research around uncertainty right now.
Hold on, David. I think
yes,
everyone watching needs to write that down. If you're waiting for certainty, there's going to be a price you're going to pay for that. You said it differently, but that's what you said. And I just
absolutely, yeah, and I believe that, and that's true in life, right? Not just in our housing or in a decision to buy or sell. Certainty, if we're going to wait for that, is going to be based on several different things. But I bring this quote in here from Jeff Tucker from Zillow. He says this: homeowners who feel life is uncertain right now may think they can get a strong price. We just talked about that. They delay selling until they have more clarity. The catch is waiting to sell may raise the cost of a trade up. And this falls record low mortgage rates, which make a trade up more affordable on a monthly basis, are not guaranteed to last. So we talked about this. We've seen it in multiple different places. The complacency around great interest rates, what's going to happen in the future. And that's what we're starting to see a nod to this. As things become more certain, as the economy improves, we'll see a rising interest rate environment. I don't know when that's going to happen, but we certainly can say that's what's, the future will bring. Tom, you had Ivy Zellman on podcast a couple of weeks ago, and certainly what she's saying, we believe and followed a lot of her advice over the years, and saying, hey, as we look into next year, we're going to start to see a more rising interest rate environment. And I'm going to talk about that in just a second, what the MBA is saying. But if we look at mortgage rates right now, most recently, Freddie Mac 2.8% is the average on a 30-year fix, still very, very good. They go on to say here, mortgage rates remain very low, providing homeowners who have not already taken advantage of this environment ample opportunity to do so. Mortgage rates today are on average a full percentage point lower than rates over the last 5 years. This means that most low and moderate income borrowers who purchased during the last few years stand to benefit by exploring refinancing to lower their monthly payment, buying a new home, whatever the case may be, to take advantage of these great interest rates. Now, the question is, what's, as we turn the corner into 2021, what is that going to look like? Not only from an interest rate standpoint, but also for prices. We've updated this slide and talked about it many times on projections relative to home price appreciation. Zillow's come out and saying 7% appreciation going forward. And you see those in the middle, 4 or 5% appreciation. I think it's safe to say, based on experts, as we go into next year, based on where we've been in supply and the demand we've seen driven across the country by low interest rates, that homes are going to appreciate very quickly. You know, and we talked about on the front end of this, some of the affordability, being challenged by that. And I think we're gonna see that. MBA has also come out with their most recent forecast for mortgage rates. And you see this year we're below 3%, but if we look at 2020 at 3% and this gradual increase going forward, again, in 3 years, if we're at 3.9%, I don't think anybody's going to go in our business and say that's a crazy rate. That's a great rate. But when you're at 2.8%, it makes 4.5% look high for the average buyer in today's market. And so I think helping people see that where we are at today is not where we will be 12 months from now relative to appreciation, relative to interest rates, according to what experts are forecasting. You know, I did a quick, go ahead, Tom.
I want to jump to our panel here. So Glennda, but I'm just uncertain about life. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get another job. I'm sitting on $300,000 or $400,000 in equity. What we're trying to figure out here, right? So here's the question for the panel. How are we going to get the word out to the sellers that are uncertain, that think they can't sell, that aren't even reaching out? They're in the research phase. They want to make a move. How do we get to them from a marketing standpoint? That's what I want to know from the three of you.
So Tom, we did a postcard that said, "Be the clarity in the midst of chaos." So for us, that was really big because people wanted us to be, they're looking for that clarity. And for me, what I'm telling people is the only true clarity is the here and now, because none of us have a crystal ball, period. I mean, think about it. When you and I were together in January, February, did you see this coming? I mean, we had no idea. No, we weren't talking about this. You know, I think the great thing for agents and the opportunity for agents is the click it and hit it real estate agent is irrelevant, because Tom, you okay?
Say that again. I need a pen. I want to write that down.
I said the click it and hit it real estate agent is irrelevant, because being a master of the knowledge of your marketplace is really what your client is looking for. Clicking an online value is irrelevant, because you've got to be nimble. As a real estate professional, you've got to be nimble. You've got to have an intimate knowledge of your marketplace. I mean, you can't click on some button and expect somebody in a cube in Iowa to understand the market in Atlanta, Georgia, period. And I think that if you, as an agent, if you explore that with your clients, with your sellers, you're automatically gaining credibility. Nothing accelerates credibility faster than proof. And being able to show that you're the pilot that goes to Columbus 5 times a day, back and forth, beats the hell out of the pilot that goes to Paris once a month. And I think that the proficiency and the exercise and the experience is now more valuable than ever. And understanding the data and being able to apply it to that specific homeowner, that is where you need to be. That is where you need to be. And loving on people, building the relationship, moving from being a service provider to being in relationship with the client. They want that. They want to know you're in it with them. And for me, that's really where all of 2020 has brought me, is to be in it with the client. Did I answer the question?
Perfect. Tim,
Okay, sorry.
Tim, you do a lot of marketing, you do a lot of films, right? You create a lot of content, you do a lot of direct mail. There's more homes along the coast that haven't called you than have called you to say, "Hey, Tim, we're thinking about selling." And I know you go on a lot of what we would call research phase sellers. We're thinking about it, Tim, but there's way more that aren't calling you. How do we get their attention? Because we're trying to untap the inventory.
So it's a great question. It's a great question, because we usually run at about 100 listings We're at 30 right now, and it's not for a lack of marketing working, but I think the opportunities that we're seeing for me, and making the assumption of what Glenda just said, like 2021 is the year of the expert. And not just the expert in real estate, the expert on real estate therapy, the people that can sit down with people and really empathize, listen, and help them achieve their objectives and requirements. But for us, what our plan is, TV, radio, YouTube, huge campaigns. We're finding ratings and the amount of time people are spending online is up dramatically starting in March till now, and it's gone back and forth with this polarizing election. So it's like all of our campaigns coming into next year will be huge TV, huge radio, huge YouTube, Vimeo, social media will really be the key for us. And then the other piece to it is expired listings. Expired listings will start happening at an all new level because you have that category of seller that always comes out at the peak and wants 20%. So your scripting and your ability to sell them on reality is going to be really the key.
Yeah, I agree. Treasure, you
on reality.
got insight? How do we unlock all those people in Colorado Springs that want to sell, but they're sitting there having conversations with themselves and not with you? Why do we tap into that?
I think it's really, and this is something that we've been talking about with our coach, is really being hyper local, really digging in and really doing amazing things for our community and really coming from a place of love with our community. The business is going to follow when people know that you're there for the right reasons, and not letting them into the inside of where you're at. But, for me, being a homeschool working mom has really, I've been able to kind of share a different spin on, hey, this is how we're making it work for us. We're not doomsdaying it. We're saying, hey, this is how we're making it work for us. And really coming from a place of inspiring. Like I showed this thing the other day that blew up on social on, here's how we created a closet into our home office. And here's how we did it. And here's the budget around it. And here's how we made it work for us. And that just really took off really crazy. So I think really loving on our team, loving on, the more we love on the people around us, the more that radiates outward, and really being hyper local. So for us, this year, we have donated over $175,000 back into our community with our Hometown Heroes program, which is giving money back to our first responders, our military, our teachers, all of that. And we're just starting to leverage it because that wasn't the initial point, but we want to get the word out. And so becoming that hyper local agent has been crucial for us.
Now I want to ask the three of you, are you making phone calls? Are you texting people? Are you doing any of the, because Tim's talking television and radio, and Glenda, direct mail postcards, and we're giving back, and you know where my heart is on all of that. What about the person listening right now that doesn't have the budget, that doesn't have the sophistication, or let's just call it business swagger that the three of you have? Do you three ever make phone calls?
So Tom, I am a big fan of FaceTime. I love FaceTime like nobody's business. And that's the thing is, like, you want to be in it with them. You want them to see you. And so for us, we're FaceTiming everybody. All of my clients, I FaceTime them every single month to check in, but we're stalking. I'm a Facebook social media stalker. So anytime that I have the opportunity to celebrate, congratulate, or console, FaceTime, always reaching out to them, because for me, I want it to be really, really personal.
Yes.
And that's it. That's the difference. Like Treasure's right. You want to be hyper local. You want to know what's going on, but you want to be part of the family. You want them coming to you, and you want them to feel like you're in it with them. So pick up the FaceTime. It's so easy. And they're like, oh my God, Glenda's FaceTiming me. And I'm like, hey, I just FaceTimed you. You didn't answer. I'm sending them a text, sending them a video text. It's great. I love it.
So the answer is yes.
Yes, all
Right?
the time.
FaceTime, video, text. We know that 90% of consumers would rather be text than actually called, but FaceTime, and we know the impact of video. Tim, are you making phone calls at this point in your career?
Absolutely. It's funny because if I didn't have a face for radio and I looked like Glenda or Treasure, I'd be doing a lot more FaceTime. But yeah, calls for me, it's like a staple, it's an assumption. And one of the things going back to these big campaigns, the key is sharing content like this. so that people will actually call to get your expertise. And it's not just a call about selling or buying. It's a call about connecting and being the expert and giving them really, really good advice on what they're doing. But calls have never been more important. And what I've found, when inventory starts to really dry up, the things that I get more relentless about doing are my 3 questions. Number 1, have you had any thoughts of selling? Right? When they get through that, and that's everybody. I don't care if it's my mechanic to a guy that just sold a company. If they answer that question, if they trust you, and I loved how Glenda said, accelerate credibility. There's some just nuggets on this call, right? But if you have credibility, you can unlock opportunities with people they know. The next question is, do you know anybody that's had thoughts of selling? And if you answer it and listen, people will unlock. And I always tell people, you don't have to connect me to this person. We're just looking for opportunities. If you give me an address, and then we'll go after it on a very general campaign. And then the third is, do you know anybody that's tried to sell and wasn't successful? Which everybody knows those people. So I'm using my network and asking those questions. And experts know how to listen and ask questions. It's the key for 2021 is unlocking the questions that will give us opportunities.
Love it. Treasure, you got any thoughts on that?
I mean, obviously, yes, we're making calls every day. We wouldn't be at 450 homes without doing the basics, which is making our phone calls. And for us, it's really been this year more than ever in our community, not about selling, about coming alongside people and where they're at. And really, I think in my personal life as well, figuring out the little details mean more than ever. Like when someone reaches out and just sends you a text hey, I'm thinking about you, it means more than it ever has. When you go to a hotel and they have little touches, it means more than ever. So really digging in and figuring out how to have that experience for our clients. And then at the end of the transaction, we've started doing this on our team. We want to hear them say at least one time, thank you for making that so easy. And we actually are clicking that and knowing that that is when we know we did right by them. Because selling and buying a house is one of the most, stressful things people can do next to death, divorce, all of that. So we've really leveraged that experience to say, how can we make this as easy on them as possible? And what we say to them is, we're going to keep you informed. We're taking all of this off of your plate. You're informed. And as you've said many times, Tom, nose in, hands off. And so that's what we kind of tell our clients is, we want you to be informed, but we're going to take care of all this for you. And at the end of it, or somewhere in the middle, when they say, thank you for making this so easy, we know we're on the right track. And so we're just duplicating that and scaling that and personalizing it for them along their personal journey. So
love it. David, let's show them the Mark Fleming quote. And then, being mindful of time, we'll touch on the very last one, the 25%. But, for my friends out there that are watching, because I don't have Facebook up, because we're, Tristan's over here on one laptop, I'm up, not inside the studio, heart it up. I would say tag these 3. And this is probably one of those that you're going to want to share. Maybe send it to your office manager, tagging them, because this would be a great sales meeting for everybody to tap into. You got arguably 3 of the greatest real estate professionals in the country right now, giving you some deep insights on how they're operating their business. And I guarantee some of you are having a paradigm shift hearing it from these 3. So David, let's go to that Mark Fleming quote and let's drive it home.
I think this quote here does drive it home, and the thought of even making a phone call and saying, hey, there's a lot of people are uncertain right now, and using some of this information. This quote comes from Mark Fleming from First American. He says, the good news is that affordability remains significantly higher than 1 year ago, mostly due to falling rates. And 1 month does not make a trend, but this month's decline in affordability signals that the current dynamics producing faster house price appreciation may begin to erode the affordability gains of recent years. So as there is uncertainty, there will be a cost to it. And I think it was very well said in several different ways of just listening and understanding, and also providing the other side to the truth of this, that as we look into the future, some of those gains in affordability may erode over time relative to rising interest rates, rising prices on, I did a calculation and on the slides there, a median priced home in this country, you know, if you take Ivy Zellman's forecast for appreciation, you take MBA's forecast for interest rates, increases the payment by about $150 a month. Now, you know, it's going to be more on the higher side of that. I think it's about a $300,000 house for that. But you know, the impact of that uncertainty is real, and I think, you know, being able to have a conversation around that, and people realizing it and understanding it, whether they make a decision or not, it puts them in a better situation to be confident about what's going on in the market.
Agreed. I mean, this whole show is really about, my friends, and the timing is perfect, thinking about how we started this today. How do we deliver more certainty to the marketplace? How do we create more certainty for ourselves so we can move people forward, help those people that need our help? So David, why don't we show them we have 2 slides, and I want to be mindful of time. That 25% is about COVID. And, you know,
yeah, you know, this last one in 4 in the survey said, I have health concerns relative to, you know, what's happening right now. I think it's very real. And I think it underscores, you know, our need to effectively communicate, hey, this is what we're doing to sell homes, to transact, to do everything that we do in a safe way. Because there are still a number of people out there that say, you know what, that's a big concern for me. And, you know, and I you know, have not done something because of that concern.
Yeah. So for our panel, what have you done from a marketing standpoint? You know, I hear a lot of agents complaining about, oh, I got to fill out these new forms. And I'm like, don't complain about filling out forms, right? We're talking about people's lives, and we're talking about, you have the ability to go transact. There's a lot of people that can't work, and you're complaining about another form you have to fill out. Like, perspective. I know the 3 of you, right? What have you done, you know, if someone is concerned? How have you marketed your safety first home selling strategies, or, you know, to help them understand that you can manage this successfully and safely through COVID? Whoever wants to go first.
So we have adopted a safety protocol, but I think that it's, especially in my market, it's extremely critical to understand where they are on the fear scale. Because, I mean, here in Atlanta, I've got people who just don't even think this exists. And then I've got people like my husband who are on the fear side of the pandemic who aren't even going out. So I think that it's complete. I think really the key is to understand, where is your audience? Where is the person that you're speaking to on the scale, so that you can speak to it intelligently? Because for me, if I'm talking to, you know, Bob over here, and he has no fear whatsoever, he doesn't even think this really exists. If I'm talking about all of my safety protocol, he's automatically tuned me out. So you really need to understand where the other person is and how you can meet them where they are. Not bring them to you, meet them where they are. That is critical.
Well said. Treasure, from a marketing standpoint, or Tim from a marketing standpoint, again, everybody out there, what we're trying to do is tap into the people that have uncertainty, whatever that fear is about putting their home on the market. I want them to call you, because I know everyone watching, I know you're going to do the right thing. How do we tap into them? So Treasure, is there something you guys have done as a company, as a team, to voice this, to get the phone to ring, to get people to engage with you?
I think it's from the messaging, when we actually make the personal phone calls, the texts, when we how we show up to their houses, to show them, no matter where we're at and no matter where you're at, it doesn't matter our personal preferences on this matter. We're here to do what we have to do, because it's come down from the government to tell us, you know, you're at another level, this is what you're doing. And we want to stay open, so we're going to do exactly what they want and more. For us personally here in Colorado, to stay open. And so for us, we just lead with, this is what we're doing and this is how we're moving forward. And we want to keep safety first. No matter where you're at, we're going to do safety first. And I think no matter where people are at, they respect it, especially when they're having people come through their home. And just talking about, they're going to be pre-qualified, they're going to wear booties, we're going to wipe down the surfaces, we're going to do all of those things. And no matter where they're at, even if they have oh my gosh, I have a scratchy throat, I think I might have COVID, which we've gone from having a normal common cold to, is this COVID? No matter where they're at or when they do their fluctuation, you know, just making sure that where they're at in their journey with COVID, that we're just consistent and steady there. So that's really been our messaging, is just steady, consistent safety. I mean, Tom, you said it first when all this came out, and that's really just been our hard hitting message of just safety. That's it.
Safety first.
Mm-hmm.
Tim, closing thoughts on that? Any additional thoughts you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, the way we're marketing it is we're accelerating credibility. I love that, Glenda. But
No charge for that tip.
We're going to see that on a postcard soon, my friends.
So
Who you work with matters.
that's right. One of the things we're doing is we're really spending time with the track record of what we've done, because credibility comes, these guys are selling more houses than ever. And we're using different people's kind of reviews of us. And a lot of times they're just saying it. But going back to everything, like every time I have a new agent come, and we're not hiring new agents, unfortunately, but I take them through a role playing. I'm like, talk to me, because I'm one of those people that I'm always thinking about moving, but I'm kind of too busy to move because I'm helping everybody else move. So I'm trying to help them understand that if they listen and understand, which everybody's saying, if they have the credibility and the expertise, they could guide me to a new home. Like, I know somebody could guide me to a new home if they listened, they cared, they were persistent. I want to be sold. I want to I want to feel certain. The greatest part about all of this uncertainty is it opens up so many opportunities for us to communicate with people and see where they're really at. And ultimately, like, everybody is thinking about moving. 2020 was the greatest year for real estate. Like, everybody's thinking about second homes. Now they're scared because the markets in Idaho, Utah, Montana, Wyoming are up 60%. They've missed their opportunity. So everybody wants to talk. The key is listening. And the second key, I don't want to work with people that don't value what I do anymore. So understanding in those conversations, if they're not the right type of client, if we don't have the same values, I'm very comfortable now saying, this isn't the right fit for me. I want to work for people that value what we do and that understand what we do. Otherwise, I don't want to waste time with them anymore. There's so many people yearning for a real estate guide, and we are that person. And it's about everybody. It comes back to just listening and understanding. And in our mission statement, it's to create a perfect and predictable experience for all of our clients. You know how hard that is in residential real estate, perfect and predictable? Well, that's what we try to do, while understanding what really makes them tick and what they're looking for, and pushing people on it. People need to be pushed. People need to be pushed one way or the other, because I still remember in 2006 and 2007, when I was a weak agent and I had all these thoughts and all of these, like, internal, that voice telling me to be stronger about what I should do and what I should say, and allowing them to do what they still want to do. And then going back through 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, when I was short selling their homes, thinking of the regret, if I just would have been a better guide in 2005 and 6, these people wouldn't be in that situation. And right now it's about the thing that's certain when people feel groundless is they feel certain in their home. And that's a really special and it's a really great thing that we're entrusted with. They feel certain in their home. That's what we can give them, certainty of where they live, where they can homeschool or not homeschool. I love what Treasure said, and I'm taking this in stride. How do you convert an office into a closet? Like, that's real stuff that people care about. And so how can we bring more of that to people to be their real estate guide?
Love it. Treasure, closing thoughts. Glenda, closing thoughts as we wrap this up.
I would just say be compassionate, be empathetic. There's never been more important time to understand the client. And I think that we did real estate so quickly, so fast for so many years before this, that it just, it all just kind of flowed in. And now there's an opportunity to really connect with your client like never before and build that client for life. And I think that as real estate professionals at the level that we're performing and you're coaching, that there's never been an opportunity to connect with people like there is right now.
I agree. Well said.
I'm going to be a little bit spicy. And I think that it's interesting that in this time of all these online companies trying to absorb, the real estate industry and kind of take a piece, like what has been echoed, especially in this uncertain time that we're in after election, that relationships and experience and all of that matters. You can't just click a button and do it. We're proving this from across the country that we are relevant, and this is what our clients need. This is what our consumers need. And it's not like buying a car. This is where people build memories. This is where people have hardships, good times. This is not a click it and move on. This is an experience, and they want someone to guide them and be along with them for the journey, for the time. So I think it's going to be a pivotal time for us as real estate leaders, and it's going to be a pivotal time for the industry that's trying to absorb some of us to really kind of redefine what they're doing, because consumers are wanting something different than where they're going. So I'm a little spicy on that.
I love it. I appreciate the perspective. It's the client experience.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't really have a premium client experience without a deep understanding of the customer, about the relationship, who they are. And all three of you have said that over and over again, which has just been powerful. Timmy, closing thoughts before I turn it to David and we end.
I just got to say thank you to you, Tom. We've been working together since I was a young lad. That when we first met, it's when I was born again. And it's really awesome to be in the community and to have you leading us like this content. And David, what you're giving us, and Glennda and like, this is awesome. And so I just want to thank you, Tom, because you are the greatest real estate coach, not just in California or the United States, in the galaxy. And everybody needs to hear what you have to say. So I'm all for you.
Thank you, my friend. And the fact that I get to say to all four of you, thank you, my friend, my friend, my friend, my friend, makes a big difference. So David, as we wrap this up, you have one last slide, and I think it's a worthwhile slide to finish on, and I'll let you kind of close it out and then we'll wrap the show, but show them that slide.
Yeah, this last slide, I think it's, the one thing I've heard, it's been wonderful to be on with everybody here today, is listening and providing, clarity through. That is the opportunity right now. We have the opportunity to listen and provide clarity. And listen, today, tomorrow, there are going to be a lot of people talking, right? I mean, that is the fact of the world that we live in. This last slide here, we've used it before. It comes from the former publisher of the Wall Street Journal, that truth, or I would even, you could replace the word clarity there as attainable by laying fact upon fact, and then fact upon fact, in a loving way, in a caring way. I'm certainly not saying that in a cold way, whether that be health concerns, financial uncertainty, life uncertainty. What are the facts that we can help guide clients to, so they can make a powerful and confident decision? Is what we're talking about. So that I think that no time, than 2020, where that's needed more than ever, and right now where we stand.
I agree. So as we wrap up this show, I want to thank my all-star panel, and I mean all-star panel. So ladies, right? Tim, thank you so much. David, always, yourself and the team at KCM for providing these data points, because we have the greatest real estate agents on the planet that that are the educators in their marketplace, the ones that are willing to sit down and have the honest, hard conversations to help people move forward. So for all my friends out there watching, if this feels like something you should be sharing, share it up. Like it up, thumbs it up, the whole 9 yards, the whole experience. And hey, there can be uncertainty in the world all day, every day. We get to decide how we want to live our lives. We'd be really clear. I don't look to the president for my moral compass, and I do not give the president of the United States the keys to my kingdom. I'm responsible for that, just like you're responsible for that. So go out and be responsible today. Make a difference, move people forward, help people. You do that, and it's a good day. All right, my friends, God bless. Thank you so much, my panel and David. We'll look forward to seeing you all soon. Take care.